Welcome back, guys, to AI Noho Radio. This is Teddy on the mic alongside with Ro and Randall Kramer.
We're all here.
So now Randall Kramer is going to give us a tutorial on... Take it away.
Dial in guitar tones.
Woo!
So the reason why I chose to give this tutorial is because most guitarists, especially in genres such as hard rock and heavy metal, they have this very bad habit at boosting up the gain and the trebles up on their amplifiers, and as a result, it actually, well, although it may sound really good in your room, you know, because that's what they want. They want to have the heaviest tones or like the most punchiest, you know, tones that can cut through mixes, but really all we're getting is just scratches of the strings with the pick, so something like that, which is really not that satisfying, and it's not very pleasant to the ear. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you how to dial in your guitar tone so that your guitar can be heard. So, because that's the main goal. You want your guitar to be heard. Every note has to project really well, or else nobody will, especially in live and recording situations, nobody will ever know what it is that you're playing if you have your guitars very oversaturated. So right here on the amp, I have knobs consisting of volume, treble, bass, middle, master, and a effect called reverb. So first, I like to start by adjusting my master and volume to a reasonable level. So in this case, I have it between 7 and 8 for the master, and volume at number 3, because right now we're in a very small room. Well, it's not a small room, but you know, it's very quiet in here, so and it's not going to be pleasing to these two right here. So so I have it at volume at 3 and master at between 7 and 8, so it sounds like this. But however, it kind of sounds horrible right now because the treble, bass, and master, this is basically your EQ settings. I have all 3 of them in the middle. The knobs are pointing between 6 and 7, so basically that's neutralized. So first thing I want to start with is the bass, and so what I do is I turn it all the way down to 1, so now I have no bass, and now I just simply gradually turn the knob until I hear the bass kicking in. So here we go. And the best way to test this is by palm muting, which is just laying your palms on the string right here, and then just picking with your pick right here. Okay, so I feel like it's kicking in at about from 4 to 5, so I'm gonna keep it right there, and then if I want to add a little bit more or reduce, I just keep it in between 4 and 5. So okay, so there's my bass dialed in. So now the next thing is the mid-range, and basically mid-range is where your tone definition is really going to project. So and another bad example of the misuse of the mid-range is that people like to scoop out the mid-range. So that means that they just like to eliminate the mid-range and just get the bright and the lower bottom end of the guitar. And although it may sound kind of decent right now here, in live it won't, because they'll just be hearing the picking and the screeching of the strings and the pick, so, like that. So definitely the mid-range is definitely one part of the EQ that you really do want to focus on a lot more. So the same thing I've done with the bass, I'm gonna do with the mid-range. So here we go. And this time I'm just gonna pick the strings, not palm muting. Okay, so it's kicking in at about from 5 to 6. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, so I jumped in at 7 because I feel that the tone definition kicks in more at 7 right here. Now, I don't want to go too overboard because if you go way too overboard, your tone definition will definitely die out. So I feel very comfortable with the tone being at around 7. So that's my personal preference right there. So you can hear a much more definition to the tone and each note that I'm playing. So the last step is dialing in your treble. Treble is pretty much your high end frequencies. So you can see the pattern right here. So it's low end frequencies, which is bass, mid range, which is middle, and your high frequencies, which is treble. So I'll start the treble from 1 and then gradually move up. All right, so much like the bass, it kicks in at about 4 to 5. So I want to keep it in between there. And notice that at 4 and 5, the guitar starts to kind of distort a little bit. So once you have it, the guitar to distort, that's where you want to leave it in. You don't want to go overboard with it, otherwise you'll oversaturate it and it won't sound very decent. So with my tones dialed in now, I have this. Now, you can definitely feel the tone and definitely feel the bottom end really kicking in a nice smooth feel. And if you feel like you still need a lot more gain or a lot more treble, there's a clean way to do this, and that's getting an overdrive pedal. And what that basically does is the overdrive pedal gives a clean boost to the gain signal. So it doesn't really distort or any distortion or saturation. It just gives a clean boost to it, so you won't have to meddle with the knobs over again. And so the best thing about dialing guitar tones is also your guitar. Your guitar definitely has the ability to control the tone of the amp and of your guitar. So in this case, I have this Jackson SSJ Dinky 7-string right here, and it has tone knobs and the volume knobs, which is pretty simple. And say you're just playing a rhythm section and you have so for a rhythm section, I like to keep my tone in between about 4 and 5 as well. So it'll be much more low end, darker. You can see Ro dancing, enjoying it.
I love it.
But then let's say, oh, my guitar solo is coming up, so you want it to really project and really punch through the mix. So I just simply turn up the tone even brighter.
Oh, I like that.
And also, that's the best thing about it. And you can also switch in between bridge pickups and fret pickups, and that's also one thing that you have to consider is every single detail really definitely affects how your guitar is sounding, from everything from the wood, from the strings, the fretboard, the pickups. Everything has an importance in what it is doing. Every single detail is contributing to your tone. So, and for metal guitarists, the same applies. The same thing applies. So that's one mistake that everyone in the metal genre does. They just love to scoop out the mids and just crank the gain up all the way and just put a distortion pedal right into the clean channel of the amp. And while it may sound very, very well in your room, it's going to be very, very not very decent to the rest of the people who are watching you, because nobody's going to know what it is you're playing. Mm-hmm. So a few recommendations of amplifiers that I have for you guys is amplifiers from Rev Amplifications, Panama, and the PB5150. Those are great amps for you to go check out, and and they'll make your job easy. And the same technique also applies to bass players too. Also, a mistake that bass players do is the same exactly. They just crank up the bass and scoop out the mids and maybe add a little bit of treble in it. But really, that's not the case. The case right here is or the trick is to try to get away with very, very little. So as you can see, I have very little treble, I have very little bass, and I have almost half, or at least half, of the middle. So getting away with very little significant details can really go a long way. So that's my tutorial on how to dial in guitar tones, and I hope you guys really, really learned something. And
I love it. Thank you so much, Randal
Yes.
Kramer. That's amazing. I think that's really cool knowledge, because I liked it when you said, to give each note kind of like its own significance, and to make it sound very pure. I think that's really nice. I like that. What do you
of
think?
course.
What do you have next for us for the next show?
Well, that I have not planned yet, but
It's a surprise.
pretty much. It might involve drums.
Ooh, I love it. I like it. We
Nice.
will
Yeah.
definitely be
Nice.
looking forward to that.